Hello and welcome to module number 3. I hope that you've identified and listed out your current strengths while also pinpointing the areas of growth that you really want to work on, which was the action step from the previous module. And today we're going to head into breathwork and meditation and talk about how they benefit your body, following up with the discussion of how you can actually start implementing these practices in your life, along with how you're going to be able to strike that balance of holistic development and avoiding some of the common pitfalls that I went through when I first started on my journey of breathwork and meditation. Let's just dive right in. And I've had this distinction of breathwork and meditation because they're not the same exact thing. While you can be practicing both at the same time, they're not exclusively something that have to be practiced in conjunction. Like if you're practicing breathwork in some shape and form, you're kind of meditating, but then there's also advanced techniques beyond that where you're meditating but not necessarily focused on breathwork. And we'll talk more about that. So let's start with breathwork, which is a practice in which you're controlling the movement of your breath. And this activates a specific part of your nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's a network of nerves that helps the body relax, conserve energy, improves oxygen flow, lowers heart rate, and really just calms the mind and physiological body. It also improves heart rate variability and really strengthens the body's immune response. Why do I know this stuff? Because I used to be a pre-med student in my undergraduate career. I majored in biochemistry. I took a lot of biology and chemistry courses, along with the conjunction of two as well. And I loved learning about the human body. In fact, I started taking anatomy and physiology courses in high school because that was a passion of mine. And with time, that evolved into learning about neuroscience and heading into those aspects as well. And now it's all coming together. One of the other parts of the nervous system, in addition to the parasympathetic nervous system, is the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the body's response to stressful and dangerous situations. So it's almost opposite of what the parasympathetic nervous system is for. The parasympathetic nervous system is to relax the body, whereas the sympathetic nervous system's job is to put body in more of an alert mode so you're able to face stressful and dangerous situations. In the current day where every single thing is competing for our attention, from phones to written pieces of articles, literally every single thing, even in the physical world, shops, etc. Every single thing is competing for our attention. And that is why we're currently in a constant state of stress. We've activated the sympathetic nervous system. And when you condition your body in a way that you're repeatedly entering this emotional state, then with time, it becomes part of your natural programming. So when we're going days and weeks and even months trying to consume everything that's around us, it puts us in this stressful state, and then it becomes a natural process for us where getting out of this stressful state seems unnatural, seems undoable. And the thing is that this is not this activation of the sympathetic nervous system. It's not a state of creation. It's a state of survival. It's your body's defense mechanism so that you can face the challenges that you have in front of you. And the thing is that this is an extremely integral part of human evolution and society because back in early human history, we needed this to survive in the wild and in our communities, where you could be eaten up by a predator, you could be attacked by a different tribe. Like, you had to have these survival mechanisms so that you can protect and provide not just for yourself but also for your family or the people around you. And this is something, like I said, was an integral part of human evolution that we needed to survive and to come to this point. However, now we don't need to live in a constant state of survival, especially when you have the privilege to not. You've purchased this course, you have the financial funds to invest in your growth, and if you're watching this video, then that means you also have the time to dedicate towards your personal growth and your holistic development, so you can find success that's filled with meaning and purpose. And that's going to be requiring you to step out of that survival mode so that you can enter the state of creation mode, so you can tap into your parasympathetic nervous system, so you can heal from your self-limiting beliefs from the past and genuinely allow your body to enter that state of relaxation, so you can create your future reality instead of just letting your past dictate your current life. And this is exactly why breathwork and meditation are going to be very integral parts to holistic development and for your routine, so you can allow your body to rest, heal, recover, so you can give your best self to your work. Not to mention that breathwork will strengthen your lungs, breathing capacity, which then translates into other areas of your life, like working out or just having a functional body in general, where you don't feel tired after climbing a couple of flight of stairs. It just, again, just makes your body more functional. And let's be real, we can all use that in a period of time right now where we spend most of our time staring at screens. Like, we need and we want functional bodies to be able to move around and do things that we want. Oh, some personal experiences on breathwork specifically. I most recently started practicing the Wim Hof breathing technique. You can look it up online, but I'll probably move on to something new again, because it was okay. It didn't, like, I stuck to it for a couple of weeks, and while it did feel great, I don't think it's something that you need to do every single day type thing. And that's why I'm like, it's definitely time for me to try something new as well. One of my favorite techniques in breathwork, though, from the past, especially when I first started in 2020, was box breathing. And that's a specific cadence of rhythm. That's a specific cadence of breath that you follow to help your body relax while you're in a stressful situation. So, for instance, one of the times that I practiced this in 2022 was when I was about to deliver a public talk to about like 100 to 150 people, and it was daunting because I'm about to speak about science concepts that I've been working on to a general public audience, and it's a big auditorium, right? So of course I was nervous, and I'm like, oh my god. So I right when the right when the student before me was presenting, I went outside. I put on, first for the 2 minutes, I listened to my favorite song, and that hypes me up. And then following that, I practiced my box breathing, which at that time I was following a 5-5-5 cadence, which means you inhale for 5 seconds, you hold for 5 seconds, and then you exhale for 5 seconds. If you're doing this 5-5-5 cadence, then each breath is a total of 15 seconds. So if you do 4 to 8 rounds in simply 1 to 2 minutes, you can bring your body and mind more into the present to help you relax. It's not a technique that works, I would say, like, 100%, where your heart rate is gonna go down like completely, but it will be significantly better than if you just didn't do it. And it's only 1 to 2 minutes. That I just don't see any excuse to why anyone shouldn't be doing box breathing in times of stressful stressful situations. Recently, I've also been following a different cadence during one of my guided meditations, and that's a 4-4-6 cadence. So, 4 seconds of inhalation, 4 seconds of holding the breath, and then 6 seconds of exhalation. And this, I think I've read that this second technique, that cadence where you inhale for less time than you exhale, or you exhale for more time than you inhale, then it relaxes your body further. And I think I can definitely attest to that, because when I've been in the guided meditations following this cadence in the beginning first 2 minutes, I do feel extremely relaxed and more entered into the state of that meditative area and realm. And it's quite exciting. Excuse me, that's quite exciting. So breathwork can be integrated into meditations. So let's talk more on the meditations part. Meditation is different from breathwork because in meditations, you're not always trying to control the breath, but rather just observe your breath, thoughts, feelings that are arising in your body. It's about observation without judgment, without hanging on to or spiraling down into thoughts. Beginner meditations are more focused on developing the skills to simply focus on the breath so that you can keep letting go of the countless thoughts that are arising in your head, which translates into becoming a more calm, balanced, and grounded individual. It significantly improves your decision making in stressful situations because you're able to let go of the like, when you're facing an issue, you have thoughts in your mind as to, okay, how can I potentially solve this issue, or thoughts on how this issue is affecting your life. And when you're in that kind of moment and you're someone who practices meditative or you dedicate time to meditations, then you're much more poised and balanced in that situation to let go of the thoughts on how this affects your life and focus more on the thoughts of how can I improve this situation, how can I solve this problem. And this has been one of my core mindsets since, I would say, high school, even though I wasn't even practicing meditations at the time. But I understood that regardless of where I come from, regardless of what the situation is right now, I always have it in my power to improve the situation, even if it is by just a very minute amount. And when you add the meditations practice to this, it significantly jumpstarts that thought process of how can I solve this issue. And it's not just about that minute progress, it gives you the clarity to think about, yes, like this is what I need to do now, and this is what's going to lead me to the better situation. Like, genuinely, it gives you that clarity. Or I should say, it gives you the skill set to determine that clarity for each situation. And you can combine these practices of breathwork and meditation. A lot of the time, most self-improvement people only talk about the basics of meditation, so they can really be more mindful in their lives, and that's perfectly okay. Like, that's perfectly good. And perhaps if spirituality doesn't interest you too much, then that's a very fine way to go. However, I realized with time that my disconnect with self-improvement YouTubers was also that I was extremely called by my inner self to explore my inner depths and learn more spiritual concepts and learnings that really transcend time, and you can apply learnings from centuries ago to human problems now. And it's extremely, extremely humbling and fascinating to observe that and be able to put those learnings into practice. So since I had a personal curiosity for spiritual awareness as well, I ended up learning more advanced techniques in meditation. things like visualization meditations, where you're trying to first bring your focus into the present and then dissolve that focus into this eternal no space, no time place, and then visualize a certain reality, whether that be a future that you want to visit or want to bring into your life, whether that be a specific experience, deep love, career advancements, or you can also really visit the past. And something that I do is I visit my past self so I can derive learnings from what I was going through at the time, but also send a lot of good energy and love back to my younger self because of how hard he was working, even with the bare minimum that he had. And that's part of some of the inner work healing that I've done for myself. And visualization meditations have been a big aspect of it. Some of the other things I've learned is energy healing, learning about the chakras in your body and how you can activate each one so that you can live your life more openly and more freely. And right now, literally last night, I was thinking about how I've been so openly communicative and expressive with how my inner realm feels, regardless of what it might be perceived as, or if the outcome of expressing that is going to be not favorable. So, for instance, um, I'm currently, this is not something I had initially planned to include in the module, but since I'm talking about it, I will mention it. I'm currently seeing this woman, and there was a certain boundary that I had in my mind and in my heart, and I really wanted to express that boundary, but I also knew that it's extremely possible. That it's a possible scenario where I express the boundary and she's not comfortable with it, which means that it's gonna lead to the relationship just not continuing anymore, and that's not really a favorable outcome that I wanted because I really like this person, you know. But at the same time, I have to be, in order to live a life that's authentic to me, I have to be able to express those boundaries regardless of the outcomes, and that's exactly what I did. And and this was just like 2 days ago, which is why I'm or 3 days ago, and then last night I was reflecting on how I am really proud of myself for doing that, for expressing it, because it tells me that all these techniques, all these things that I'm giving you in these modules have really helped me to get to a point in my life where I can be open, expressive, and really live the way my inner realm wants to be expressed in this world. And that's what I want for you as well. So there's energy healing that I got involved in, there's astral projection, there's remote viewing, and that I know some of these things are going to sound woo-woo to some people. So apart from my personal experiences, I'm not going to head into too much detail here, but I did want to mention it in case there is something here that inspires more of your curiosity or excitement for you, so you can follow that path for yourself as well. Meditation, though, of course, is similar to breathwork, has many benefits on the body, along with the tremendous effects that we see on the brain. And if you're curious to know more about the science of this, that goes into the specifics of how each neurotransmitter or how neuroplasticity is going to work, you should you should definitely check out Andrew Huberman and Joe Dispenza. We also know, like from research, that meditation increases gray matter density in the regions of the brain that are associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation. It also increases the feel-good hormones and neurotransmitters like serotonin, GABA, dopamine. And again, if you're interested in the mechanisms and science behind this, of how this works on a cellular level in our human bodies, definitely recommend checking out Andrew Huberman and also Joe Dispenza. If you want to go into the very detailed specifics of how it works in the brain and the body, I would go with Andrew Huberman. And if you want to see more of testimonials or like real life results of this kind of work or these kinds of advanced kinds of meditations, then definitely check out Joe Dispenza, who does these kinds of things on a grand scale, like on a world scale, and many testimonials. I don't know what's going on, dude. I keep stumbling sometimes. But now that we know the benefits, let's talk about how you can integrate these practices into your lifestyle. The first thing I want to mention is having a routine. It's going to be extremely important that you stick to a few minutes of meditation every single day, whether that be or fairly consistently, like 3, 4, 5 times a week. And one of the best ways to stick to this is by doing it at a specific time each day, whether that be in the morning or whether that be in the nighttime or evening, or perhaps you get really stressed during your midday, so you can take 5 to 10 minutes of break and just meditate then during your workday. But when you're first starting out, meditating for 5 to 10 minutes, it's honestly a great start. So if you're someone who feels like you can do 10 minutes, start with 10. If you feel like you can't do 10, start with 5. But trust me that you have to start slow and build up. When I first started meditating like consistently, where I was like, yes, like I'm gonna stick to this, and I did for a good couple of months, was September of 2022. And I started out with 5 minutes, I think. Yeah, I would do like 5 to 7 minutes meditations, and that's what I stuck to for the first month. And then the next month, I bumped it up a little bit and slowly kept going up from there. And then in a few months, I was able to do 30-minute meditations, and it's just extremely humbling. And I'm so proud to see like you can start so small, but with time that can compound to so much. And I hope you're really grasping that concept that I'm putting out to you. And if you don't know where to start with meditation at all, which is exactly how I felt back in the day, I would highly recommend a free app called Medito. It's spelled Medito. It's literally free app on App Store. I don't know if it's on Google Play Store as well, but definitely App Store. And then they have guided meditations, they have timers, they have a bunch of different kinds of meditations as well, where some of them are focused on philosophy thinking, some are focused on love, some are focused on gratitude. Like, I just think that it's a dope app when you're first starting out because it's free and it has so much value to offer that I'm not even sponsored by these fuckers, bro. Like, and excuse my language there. That was unnecessary. I'm not sponsored by these people. I just genuinely really think that Medito provided so much value for me, and I know that it can provide so much value for you that I'm recommending it. So go check that out. But if you're also at the point where you don't feel like you want to sit and close your eyes and do that kind of meditation, then you can also go on a mindful walk where you're not listening to any music or podcast, no headphones on, and you're genuinely just feeling each breath, the air going into your nose, like going into your lungs, like filling it up, like you feel your chest expand. And then when you exhale, like you can hear the sound of your exhale, you can feel the air that's coming out from your nose or your mouth, and really feel each breath, each step, surroundings, focus on the colors, focus on the sounds of the birds. It's just an extremely helpful way to disconnect from this material world or some sort of your stressful situations. And that's exactly the goal of meditations and breathwork, which means that there's different ways to achieve that goal, and mindful walking is one of them. You can take a very similar approach with mindful work as well, where when you're working on your projects, when you're working on writings, or when you're washing the dishes or cooking, just don't have anything in the background. Like, don't have music, don't have TV, don't have any podcast, and focus on what's in front of you. Like when you're washing the dishes, like feel the water running on your hands, like feel the soap when you're like scrubbing the goddamn dishes. It's my least favorite task, but doing it mindfully has been something that really allows me to enter a meditative state while still getting shit done. And if you're cooking, like really smell the aroma of the spices that you're using. And another tip, again, like you can apply this mindfulness technique to literally anything in life. When you're showering, when you're brushing your teeth, when you're eating, like fully experience the taste, the textures, the smells of whatever it is that you're eating. And these are some of the ways that you can implement the practice of meditation specifically in your everyday life. Then there are, of course, the practices of breathwork, if that is something that you want to implement as well. Then you can either have it be a part of your meditations where you also implement box breathing at the beginning to start entering that meditative state, or you can practice something like the Wim Hof technique to go like 10 minutes of breath work, which does strengthen your lungs and also gives you those benefits as well. And some practical tips that I want to give you, because this is something that would have helped me when I first started. Harping on the first point, which is something that I mentioned, but it's so important, and that's starting small and building gradually. There's no reason to start meditating for 15, 20, 30 minutes when you're just going to be thinking about something else the entire time. That defeats the purpose. Which is why you need to start small and build up to it. Like, you need to have a strong foundation, and the only way you're going to be able to do so is by meditating for only a few minutes a day at first. And I know sometimes our brain in this world thinks that that's not progress, like 5 minutes is nothing and it's not going to do anything. But that's so, dude, like with these techniques, or just with building skills and building projects, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day can make so much difference over the course of a few weeks, few months, and few years. And I swear, I think this concept is so underrated, and I just don't know why even I, at the early stages of my life, just didn't understand how much just even 5-10 minutes a day can really help you improve your skill set if you're focused on improving that one aspect of your life. So the practical tip is to start small and start with something that you can actually do fully and give yourself wholly to, and be able to stick to that kind of practice for a consistent period of time, whether that be a few days, a couple weeks, a couple months. Start small, build gradually. The other practical tip is overcoming some of the common challenges. One of the things that people say to me when I mention meditation to them, they say that they have a very busy mind and that they can't close their eyes and sit down and just focus on their breath, which makes complete sense, because we live in a world that literally doesn't want us to do that. Like the world wants our attention. And when I say the world, I think I'm really referring to social media and our work lives, like what the Western world has created for us. Like, it demands our attention. And when you're living in that life for years, obviously it's going to be extremely difficult for you to sit down and close your eyes and think and just observe. But you have to recognize that when you first start, your thoughts are going to try to take over. Your mind is going to want to hang on to one thought and start cascading down on it. And what you need to remember is that this is part of the process, and that's exactly the practice that you need. Whenever you are engaging in meditation, you close your eyes and you're trying to just observe your thoughts, but you cascade down into one, and all of a sudden you realize that, oh, I'm cascading down this thought, but I'm supposed to observe. And then you just shift your focus back on the breath, or shift your focus back onto just observation. That is the practice of meditation. You just performed a mental repetition to bring your focus back to the present. And that's what meditation is. Even now, man, like even after years of meditation, when I'm in my meditative state, it's never that I'm 101% just focused on the meditation. With time, it's natural that there are thoughts that start popping in my head, but the mental repetition of simply observing that thought and then redirecting the focus back to what I was focusing on in my visualization meditation, that's the key. That's what you want to go for. So when you have thoughts that keep coming up or you start cascading down, you catch yourself and you tell yourself, yeah, I see, like this is there, but I need to focus back on the present. I need to focus back on my meditation. And that's the practice. That's what the key is. So when you're getting distracted during your practice of meditation, that's good. That's a good sign, because that's exactly what you need to do to practice. And that's what's going to give you the skills so that you can translate that same thing in real life, where everything is competing for your attention, but you're able to discern which is the part that's valuable to you, which is how you'll decide where you want your attention to go. And that's extremely important, because wherever your attention goes, wherever your awareness goes, that's where your energy goes as well. So if you're focused on negative things, that's where your energy is going, and then eventually you'll naturally just attract that in your life. Whereas if you focus on the positives, then naturally you'll attract more of that in your life, because that's where your energy is going. And whatever energy we put out is the energy we receive at some point in our lives. Like that's a fundamental thing. And one of the other common challenges is the lack of time. Like I just don't have time to do it, or my schedule is just so busy that I can't find the time to do it. And this one is, I think, for better lack of words, it's a major excuse, because when you're first starting out, you really only need 5 to 10 minutes. And if you're telling me that you don't have 5 to 10 minutes in your day at any given point to practice meditation for yourself, perhaps you need to ask yourself the question whether it's something that's truly important to you, and if you truly want to improve your life in that aspect or not. Because if you say you want to improve in that area of your life, but you choose to not take action towards it, then your words are not in alignment with your actions. And you need to self-reflect on that and ask yourself, where is that coming from, and how can I let that go? Another this is the mindset technique. This is the mindset behind putting in the actions for your goals. But the practical tip here is to schedule that time out. Like I said, schedule out that 5-10 minutes, whether in the morning, afternoon time, midday, or evening or nighttime. And then do it every day, or do it for a consistent period of time, so it becomes a part of your natural habit and natural programming. And this way, when you don't do it, you're gonna feel weird. Because think about this: when you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth. When you're about to go to sleep at night, you brush your teeth. Like these are natural programmings that we've hardwired. So if you want to hardwire something else into your habit, it's all about repetition. That is where I'll wrap up the content for this video. And as for the action step for this module, I want you to practice a meditation session, whether that be guided thing on Medito, the app, or from YouTube, but just for 5-10 minutes. And maybe try to focus this, or do one that's simply about observing your breath or observing your thoughts. I think that's one of the best ways to start, because it's a relatively simple practice to follow. It's not easy, but it's simple to follow, and I think it sets a very strong base to go into deeper meditations or advanced meditations, should you choose to. But this alone should give you the benefits that you can translate into your real life. And it only has to be 5-10 minutes, you know this. After the session, write down your thoughts, feelings, or any changes in your mental state from before the meditation. If you want even more of a challenge, then do this for an entire week, Note down your thoughts, emotions after each session, and then at the end of the week, come back to your entries and try to see if you can identify any patterns or any certain behaviors or any certain trends, because that process will give you a lot of insight as to how your inner world feels and thinks currently. If you end up doing these action steps, which I highly recommend you should, because like I said in the beginning of this course, I'm an action-oriented person. I don't think that learning comes from just watching, listening, or writing. The real learnings come from experience, trying things out, and taking action for the things that you want to do or you want to achieve. And that is why I strongly urge you to do all the action steps. Do this one. And if you do, tag me on Instagram at spiritual-ish underscore. Again, that's spiritual-ish underscore, SPIRITUALISH underscore. Yeah, no, definitely tag me. I want to be tagged along onto your journey. I want to see your growth. I want to witness it. I want to show it off as well. So make sure you do that. And that is where we'll wrap up this module. In the next module, we're going to discuss one of the most important topics in this entire course, and that is how to build and sustain habits. I'll see you there.